finally here. The update that is supposed to make Playnite, my favorite launcher, even better. Let's take a look at Playnite 5 right now. So if you have no idea what you're looking at right now, this is Playnite, and since this is not going to be a full comprehensive review, I just want to go over all the updates that have changed with this massive update. I recommend you check out the corner video thing, the eye, just go click on that. It's probably somewhere over here. And once you've finished watching that, jump back on over to this video because there are a couple of changes that I do want to go over. So for starters, the default theme has changed a little bit. While the colors have still stayed about the same, there's some new shading going on and other fun things that just make it look a little bit cleaner, a little bit more modern. When you first install it, at least what happened to me is, if we go to the sort by, it sorted everything by library. I'm going to go back to categories because that's what I have everything as. Let's just do that right there. Nope, I want something colorful, like Ziggurat. I've never played it. And then let's sort by ascending. That's how I like to keep all my games looking. And for some reason, all the icons are missing. In Playnite 4, it defaulted to the storefront or platform that you got the game from. In Playnite 5, it just gives you this generic icon, which will change in a bit. As you can see, not much has changed. I do believe you might have a little bit more sorting options, but all the options that you got before are going to be here. So if you have things in a specific set way like I do, you can keep it like that. The grid view itself, this view has not changed too much. You do have some zoom options. You can still sort everything like you do up here. But my problem with this one is you don't know which category each game is in. You can click on the information, but it's not as, I guess, colorful as the details view. And then the list view is just kind of like Steam's list view. It's very simple if you just want a lot of information at once. If you just don't care about looking at the beautiful artwork of your games, that's fine. You can go right with that. They do have this filter panel off onto the side. You can filter by all these different things that you can sort your games by, which is pretty nice. And then we have this Explorer panel on the side, which literally just goes through almost all the same things as well. It's interesting. It's useful if for some reason you just want your games to be in like just a regular list form and you want to search really quickly, or you can always use the search feature, which unfortunately it still does this thing where it doesn't automatically open up everything that you search for. That's a problem that I have with this launcher that hasn't been addressed. I believe Steam does this already, so if that could be something that could be sorted into the search function, that'd be pretty cool. But if for some reason it can't, it's fine. That's just something I realized over my time using this launcher. So let's get into this button up here. So instead of having the slide out hamburger menu, everything is more in a mouse friendly feature, which I like myself, because if you want to use a controller, the full screen mode, which we'll be taking a look at later, has substantially improved, and I recommend using that if you want to do any of that. The add game function stays about the same, your library manager, updating your game libraries, all that fun stuff. And so if we go into settings, it hasn't changed too much. There's just been a couple new features to make the launcher a little bit more customizable, which I like myself. If we go over to appearance, we can change this show icon tray. I like it in the white, so this will restart once I hit save. We have the themes, which thankfully is just a list of all the themes instead of having like default or classic and then like blue, red, green, all the colors. Everything's just right there. If you click on get more themes, it'll take you to the GitHub, where they do announce that they will be adding a forum where people can submit themes, which I think is pretty cool. And they have a guide allowing you to create your own themes. So if you want to use code or whatever they use to create your own theme, you can do that as well. They finally have the new API set up with Playnite 5, which is fantastic. I love customizability, and this is probably one of the best ways to get something customizable. Just grab a new theme. We do have all these options, some of which have stayed the same. The blur background option I find really cool. It's the background that you can see right here and over here. I don't believe it changes too much. If we just see, it's not too blurred over there. So go back into settings. You can also hit F4 if you just want to get into the settings real quick, which is nice. I like having features like that. Again, we can darken the background, all kinds of fun things. Advanced, this is the one where I had the problem with. I believe it is library. That changes everything. So if we click save, I believe we do need to restart it, but these icons will change to the Twitch and Epic icons and stuff like that. So let's just restart the launcher real quick. So after a quick restart, we have all the icons back, which I personally like. I think it makes it look just a little nicer. I don't really like the black and gray stuff going on. So if we go down to game details, everything that you see here is just kind of everything that's down here on the list. If you want everything, you can turn on everything. If you want to get rid of stuff like developer, publisher, platform, time played, cover image, we get rid of the cover that you see right there, and we get rid of a couple of the things that were up there. So let's just go back to our settings. I'm still getting a bit used to the menuing system. It is the same. It's just that button. It doesn't feel like something you should be clicking on. So we have some advanced settings, which for the most part you shouldn't have to mess with. The DPI scaling, unless you have like a 4K screen. Hardware acceleration, I recommend you keep that on, like, unless you experience stuttering issues. And asynchronous image loading, that's a weird one for me. I don't think I really need this on for the most part, unless you're using something like the cover UI, the grid UI. There we go. They do have this new controller support in desktop mode, which I find really neat. We have the same extensions as before, where it's just all your logins. You can make your own extensions, which is pretty neat. And then metadata. Where do you get the metadata? They also recommend you go to the indie game database, independent game database, and consider contributing to the site, which I think is pretty neat. The libraries tab has changed a little bit, but nothing has really changed. It's very much the same. You sign in, and for the most part, everything seems to work fine. I believe there is some issues with the Battle.net launcher still, which we can kind of see up here. There's some failed logins and stuff like that. Some of these were earlier, and I had to re-log in. So if you do install this over your 4.0 update, do make sure to just log into everything once over if for some reason you're having some problems. And so I think this is probably the biggest change, is full screen mode. Let's take a look right now. So we are logged in to the full screen mode. I'm gonna just kind of move my mouse off to the side, and I'm gonna use my controller because this is very much what it's meant for. If you're using a home theater PC or something like that, you have your desktop hooked up to a TV or something, and you want to use a controller. We have our recently played games, we have favorites, which I don't have any, the most played, and all. Now for the most part, this looks significantly better than the old desktop UI. There's a lot more ease of access to your games, I would say, and I love the filter option we have. Go for installed games, and let's say we sort by category. My problem with the category sorting, which I think Game Room actually did decently well, is you could kind of have things sorted by a certain category. You have like all your games, your most played games, stuff like that. Recently installed, they kind of separated that out, but they don't do that here, which sucks in my opinion. I don't know what category my games are in, and it's sorted alphabetically too, so that doesn't really help. So if you want to go by a specific category, you have to go in, and let's say I want to play a mod game, let's play Minecraft, I guess. But for the most part, I think this is useful for a UI that's based around the controller. You click the right stick to get to the filters, you can press Y to search with this QWERTY keyboard, which I think is nice. And then we have our options, which is pretty much just exit Playnite, the desktop mode, and I love the turn off and restart options, especially because this UI is meant for a home theater PC. If we just figure out where we are on the UI real quick, sometimes I get lost where the cursor is, so that doesn't help sometimes, but I think that's mostly just a me thing. We can take a look at just things like, take a look at a game, Broken Age. For some reason, a A lot of these games just don't have background art. I think that is something that I could probably change or fix, but it's not too big of a deal. If you want to go in and fix your games, you can go right ahead. And yeah, it looks kind of good, but I don't think you'll be using this screen too often unless you need to add it to your favorites, hide it, and the install function I probably wouldn't recommend in this mode because it will require you to use a mouse and keyboard to install games. And you can just hit X to play for games that are installed, or it'll ask you to install a game if it's not installed, which, again, I don't recommend installing games from this UI because it'll just launch your other launcher, and you're going to have to use mouse and keyboard, and that's just something I'm not a big fan of, having to use multiple input sources. But for games that are installed in your system, I think the Fullscreen UI is this is one of the best Fullscreen UIs I've seen outside of Steam, because I think that is a decent UI, and if all your games are on Steam, I don't know why you're using Playnite, but I think that is probably a better first party implementation, if you want to say that. It's because the store is integrated with your launcher, it works a lot better. But if you just have a whole bunch of games installed already and you want a nice UI, I think Playnite does a really nice job in 5.0. I wouldn't have recommended it in 4. Whatever, but in the 5. I think we're on 5.5 now, just because they keep releasing more patches. You know what? The Playnite 5 series has a nice UI. I recommend this fully. So let's get back to desktop mode. That is all the things that I have found in looking through everything, looking at the patch notes. This is more of a creature comfort update than it is a radical change of Playnite. You can customize it a lot more, which I like so much. I think that helps this launcher very, very much. Well, I do think there's some small things like the search function when you have categories enabled, or the default sorting, which is descending and by library, I believe. It doesn't work out well for me, at least. I keep clicking this thing right here instead of the Playnite button, which is weird because I didn't have that problem before. But that is something I would recommend the team might take a look at next time they do a UI update, or any third-party UI might want to with the themes and stuff. I think the theming system might help with that, so I definitely might be looking into themes for this launcher. Other than that, there's not too much. If you liked Playnite before, I think you'll like it even better now. If you didn't like Playnite, I don't think this will be enough for you. So that is all I have to say. Sorry for no face cam today. I've been having camera issues for a while, and hopefully we can get that fixed. I'll probably end up grabbing a webcam just because that's cheap and that's all I can really afford. If you don't care about my face, well, you can hit the subscribe button. It'll be somewhere on the left of the screen, and on the right side we have videos for you to check out. I have a couple of videos for like free games and stuff and other things like that. Leave a comment down below about your favorite feature from Playnite 5. I'd love to hear all your thoughts. Check out all my links down below. I've been streaming on Twitch a lot more lately. I've moved away from Mixer, unfortunately. That's all I gotta say. My name's gregandcin. Have a fun one.